Cramped or not, as the 17th and 18th centuries progressed, London continued to grow both in size and wealth. By 1801, with almost 1 million residents, London was by far the biggest city in Europe. Foreign trade reached a peak with the birth of the British Empire. The port of London was now inundated with tea from India, silk from China, spices from the East Indies. But there was a problem. The waterfront wharfs could barely cope with the traffic.
On the River Thames in the 1790s, there were 14,000 vessels a year trying to get into London. We're talking about the world's first industrialised nation. London was at the hub of that incredible empire of trade. The facilities which were laid out in Elizabethan times just simply couldn't cope with the forest of masts.
London's merchants had no choice. They decided to build new docking facilities. In the next 100 years, 9 new docks were built over an 8-mile stretch of land. It was a phenomenal expansion. Vast areas behind the river were excavated to create giant mooring bays for the ships.
There were scores of thousands of people employed on constructing the dock. Physical manpower, hard physical labour. 20 million bricks alone for the docks and walls, another 20 million bricks for the warehouses.
The docks transformed the face of the Thames and created huge opportunities for work. Thousands of people poured into the area to work in cargo handling as well as in factories that grew alongside the docks. But more than just increasing the size of London, the docks also generated vast wealth for the city. Banks, insurance companies and commodity exchanges all grew up on the trade coming in and out of the port. One business started off in a little coffee house in the city and eventually became Lloyd's of London, now one of the world's largest insurance companies. The docks served London well for 170 years. But by the 1960s, their time had passed. Modern techniques of container shipping meant the docks became redundant. What had taken 100 years to build was dismantled in just a decade and a half. But the Docklands were to live again. In the 1980s, a massive redevelopment, designed for both homes and businesses, brought new life to London's historical East End. It's now one of the most modern, high-tech areas of the city. Only an occasional crane is left to remind people of the area's heritage.
There came a time in the late 80s when London outgrew itself, and so it had to expand somewhere. And so they started to regenerate the old dockland areas. I mean, some people call it Chicago on Thames down there. The biggest skyscraper in London is down in the docks. And it's now a really thriving city. It's a place where you can live and you can walk to work in a completely new city, which is part of London, but at the same time separate from it.
When London uses it well, the Thames pays dividends for shipping, trade and industry. But on occasion, abuse of the river costs the city a heavy price.